In Avatar: The Way of Water, James Cameron returns us to the breathtaking world of Pandora, where Jake Sully, now a full Na'vi, and Neytiri build a new life with their family. As the Sully clan navigates the challenges of their ocean-dwelling Metkayina allies, they face an old threat: the relentless human forces of the RDA, led by the resurrected Colonel Quaritch, with stunning visuals and themes of family, survival, and connection to nature. The stage is set for an epic journey that leads into the upcoming Avatar: Fire and Ash. Welcome back to Screen Sizzle. We extend our heartfelt thanks to you, our dedicated viewers, for joining us on our journey toward 1 million subscribers. Let me know which movie you want me to explain the meaning of by commenting below. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell to stay updated on our latest videos. All right, let's not keep you waiting any longer. Let's get started. After 15 years since Jake arrived on the planet Pandora, he and Neytiri have built a happy family with 2 sons, Nidiam and Loak, along with a daughter named Tuk. Additionally, they have adopted Kiri, the daughter of the female scientist Grace. However, to this day, they still do not know how she was able to become pregnant and give birth to this child. This occurred while her body was being sustained in a survival pod following the great battle with the Sky People, the greedy and cruel human species from Earth. Most of the invaders have either left or been driven back to their homeworld. Only a small number of scientists remain, living alongside the Na'vi and working closely with Jake in the effort to protect and develop this land. Additionally, the film introduces a young boy named Spider, the son of Colonel Quaritch. Because the boy's father was an enemy, Neytiri is strongly opposed to Spider's presence. However, the boy persistently strives and endeavors to become a true Na'vi. As a result, he has been accepted as a close friend by Neytiri's children. The Na'vi's way of life is currently very peaceful. However, James Cameron says there's no way that's the case, or else there wouldn't be a part 2 to watch. The Sky People reappear with malicious intent to conquer the planet Pandora. This time, they bring an array of advanced machinery and killer robots, conducting widespread destruction and burning. This causes numerous creatures to die in agony. Perhaps what Neytiri regrets most at this moment is why she did not eliminate all the cruel Sky People back then. Subsequently, on a spacecraft, Colonel Quaritch and his comrades are resurrected in the form of avatars. Although their real bodies have perished, their consciousnesses have been transferred into these avatar bodies. As a result, they possess the strength of the Na'vi combined with the intelligence of humans. The Avatar Army, led by Quaritch, is dispatched to Pandora to hunt down Jake and his wife. Jake himself is deeply occupied. Bearing the responsibilities of a tribal leader, he must simultaneously fight against the humans from Earth, train his children, and protect his family. Among his 4 children, the eldest, Nidiam, is skilled in combat and a source of pride for his father. In contrast, his younger brother Loak is very mischievous. Instead of following his father's orders to scout from the air on an Ikran, Loak persuades Nidiam to fly down and retrieve weapons. The consequence of acting impulsively led to the Na'vi warriors being attacked by the Sky People's aircraft. The eldest brother was even shot, nearly meeting his ancestors prematurely. As a result, Jake reprimanded both brothers severely. To protect his family and tribe from the Sky People, Jake led everyone to hide in a cave within the floating mountains. Since this place is the habitat of the Ikran, any intruder would be attacked if the Sky People appeared. One day, Jake's children were playing in the forest near the site where Jake and Quaritch fought years ago. Kiri, once again, lay on the ground in a state as if becoming one with Pandora, the surrounding grass pulsing in harmony as if reflecting her connection with Awa. Surrounding her were the sacred seeds, drawing near to her. At the same time, Quaritch and his team had also landed on Pandora, eager for revenge. He visited the battlefield from years ago where his real body was shot by Neytiri with her bow and arrow, holding his own skull in his hands. He was so consumed with rage that he crushed it immediately. However, this was witnessed by Jake's children, who were playing nearby. Loak promptly reported the situation to his father and was ordered to retreat quickly without making any noise. But before they could get far, the children were captured by Quaritch's troops. Colonel Quaritch noticed that the children had 5-fingered hands. This indicates that they are hybrids, not pure Na'vi. Knowing they are Jake's children, Quaritch contacted headquarters to request a ship for pickup. Simultaneously, he discovered that the human boy accompanying them was his own son. However, Quaritch did not disclose this to anyone and kept it a secret for the time being. Due to an ongoing eclipse, the rescue ship could not arrive immediately. This gave Jake and Neytiri the opportunity to rescue their children. Jake instructed his eldest son to stay behind and keep watch while he quickly moved to the scene, where he saw the children being held captive by the enemy on the ground. Neytiri used covert signals to reassure the children. Subsequently, she drew her bow and shot dead the soldier threatening Kiri. Caught off guard by the sudden attack, the soldiers quickly retaliated, firing continuously in her direction, taking advantage of their distraction. The children coordinated with each other to escape from the Avatar soldiers. Colonel Quaritch taunted Neytiri to reveal her position, having determined Neytiri's direction. The colonel signaled his troops to unleash a barrage of gunfire. However, she was far from an easy target. Not only did she move agilely to evade the bullets, but she also counterattacked, eliminating enemies. It seemed as though Colonel Quaritch would return empty-handed this time. Unexpectedly, young Spider slipped and fell to the ground while fleeing. He was quickly recaptured by the enemy, although desperate to save him. Jake and Neytiri were forced to stand by helplessly as the soldiers took the boy away. They could not risk the lives of their other children, knowing that Quaritch would relentlessly hunt them down. Jake proposed that Neytiri take their children into hiding to ensure the family's safety. However, Neytiri refused, as her mission was to protect her people. Jake explained to his wife that Spider knew the Na'vi's location and all their plans, so Quaritch would surely find them soon. Therefore, to ensure the safety of everyone, the only option was to flee. The ones they were seeking were our family, not the people of the tribe. Ultimately, Neytiri reluctantly agreed to follow Jake's plan. Meanwhile, at the human military's command center, Spider was being tortured with advanced technology to extract Jake's location. Despite being pushed to the brink of death, the boy steadfastly refused to reveal Jake's whereabouts, seeing his son endure continued torture. Quaritch, concerned, shut down the device. He informed the commander-in-chief that he would use psychological manipulation to persuade the boy. In a private room, he met with Spider and revealed that Spider was indeed Quaritch's son. But the original Quaritch had died. The Quaritch in this avatar body carried only his consciousness. Therefore, in essence, the two were not truly related. However, if Spider refused to disclose Jake's hiding place, all the Na'vi people would surely return to Eywa. At the same time, Jake performed a ritual to transfer the role of tribal leader to another individual. Afterward, he, along with his wife and children, rode ekrans and departed from their homeland. They flew straight out to sea, crossing the vast ocean. They then stopped at a village called Metkayina to seek refuge, escaping the pursuit of the Sky People. However, due to the differences between the Forest Tribe and the Sea Tribe, their entire family faced severe body shaming. The Forest People were deemed frail, with arms and tails too small to survive in the open sea, although reluctant to harbor a family that might bring calamity to the tribe. Fortunately, because Jake Sully was once a Toruk Makto, Chief Tonawari reluctantly agreed to let them stay. He assigned his son, Aonung, and his daughter, Tsireya, to guide them in becoming children of the sea. Jake's children adapted to the Sea People's way of life relatively quickly, in contrast to the gentle, understanding, and hospitable younger sister. Aonung harbored dislike for Jake's children, as they were hybrids and not true Na'vi. Jake's children themselves were not thrilled about living in an unfamiliar place, especially while facing discrimination and ridicule from others. However, Jake, as the pillar of the family, urged his wife and children to strive to adapt and accept the new circumstances. The first task for the entire family was to practice diving to become accustomed to the marine environment. While the eldest and second sons struggled considerably, their sister Kiri adapted remarkably quickly. The underwater scenery of the vast ocean was expansive and breathtakingly beautiful. Loak, guided by Tsireya, attempted to ride an ilu, the sea-dwelling Na'vi tribe's mount, as he was still unaccustomed to such swift speeds underwater. He lost the bond and slipped off the igloo after traveling only a short distance. Meanwhile, Jake was instructed by Chief Tonawari, also known as Sav Shaw's, to ride a skimwink. This mount, reserved for warriors, was ferocious and difficult to tame. Although Jake fared somewhat better than Loak, the challenge remained significant. The outcome was equally unsuccessful. Returning to Quaritch, he ordered his team to familiarize themselves with the terrain and lifestyle of the Na'vi. This was essential to effectively infiltrate and fully master their avatars. Subsequently, Spider guided Quaritch in taming Ikrans, leveraging his many years of experience in a military environment. Quaritch was able to tame an Ikran with ease. Returning to the adaptation training at the ocean's depths, one detail reveals that Kiri is an exceptionally unique individual. The young girl Kiri suddenly demonstrated her ability to control bioluminescent plankton. While Kiri was delighting in watching the twinkling lights and the interplay of water waves reflected on the sand below, she was teased by Aonung and his friends. Seeing this, Nediam and Loak immediately rushed to protect their sister, unable to contain his anger. Loak struck Aonung. Neteyam, seeing the situation, had no choice but to join in to defend his younger brother. The group then erupted into a fight. After learning of the incident, Jake reprimanded the two brothers and ordered Loak to apologize to Aonung, despite knowing that the brothers were only protecting their sister. After Loak left, an interesting detail emerged when Jake asked Nediam which side took the heavier blows. Jake was very satisfied when his two sons beat Aonung's group more severely. Returning to Loak, he reluctantly went to apologize to Aonung. Aonung accepted the apology, but behind his back, he harbored a sinister plot for revenge. Aonung lured Loak beyond the coral reef to hunt fish, challenging him to prove himself as a true warrior. Although Loak knew this was a forbidden area not to be approached, he was provoked and accepted the challenge. After leading Loak to a distant location, they took advantage of his inattention and fled, leaving him alone in the open sea. Suddenly, a massive sea monster appeared, attacking Loak and his igloo. It chased after the igloo but then turned to attack Loak. Likely because Na'vi flesh was more appealing than the igloo, Loak, quick-witted, swam into the coral reef to take cover, but the sea monster did not relent. It was determined to destroy the coral reef to reach him. When Loak could no longer hold his breath, he was forced to swim to the surface for air. At that moment, the sea monster returned, certain of its victory, until a Tulkun arrived to rescue Loak and killed the sea monster. However, by this time, Loak had run out of oxygen and began sinking to the ocean floor. When he regained consciousness, he found himself riding on the back of that Tulkun. He expressed gratitude to the Tulkun for saving him. Loak repaid the Tulkun by removing the giant harpoon stuck in its fin. This mutual help made them closer. The Tulkun then took Loak to stir up an entire sea area. Meanwhile, Jake was comforting and talking to Kiri about her differences. Suddenly, Nediam brought Aonung to tell Jake about what he had done to Loak. Loak returned just in time near the Metkina village, knowing everyone was looking for him. The boy hurriedly bid farewell to the Tulkun. He then returned to face Chief Tomawari and the villagers. Chief Tomawari said the fault was Aonung's, while Jake and Neytiri were scolding Loak. However, Loak took all the blame to ease the tension. A very noble act. Taking the blame for Aonung made him grateful, turning their enmity into friendship. Thus, the conflict between the two families' children was resolved. The next morning, Loak told the group about meeting the Tulkun. Tsireya said it was an outcast Tulkun named Payakan, who had killed many of its kind and Na'vi in the past. It was considered a highly dangerous and cruel creature, so the group didn't believe it saved Loak. It was hard for Loak to find a friend who understood him, only to have everyone speak of it this way. Loak left because no one believed him, and went to play with the Tulkun. Meanwhile, Tsireya led Kiri to the soul tree of the sea people. There, Kiri connected her hair to the soul tree and met Grace. She asked why she was different, what Great Mother Awa wanted from her, and who her father was. But before getting answers, Grace was pulled away. Kiri suddenly had a seizure and fainted. The kids quickly helped Kiri disconnect and brought her back to the village for help. Jake called Max and Norm to check on her. They used advanced equipment and concluded she had epilepsy. If Kiri connected to the soul tree again, her life would be at risk. At this moment, Ronal, Chief Tomawari's wife, stepped in to save Kiri. She angrily chased out the clueless doctors, as the Na'vi are different from Earth humans. Indeed, Ronal successfully saved Kiri's life. However, Jake's call for Max and Norm unintentionally sent out a strange signal. Quaritch detected it, suspected Jake was hiding on distant islands, and decided to investigate. Uncertain of Jake's exact island, Quaritch seized a Tulkun hunter's warship, forcing his help. At that moment, the Tulkun herd returned to the Metkaina village. The Tulkun, seen as spiritual siblings by the sea Na'vi, were joyfully greeted like family, as everyone swam out to welcome them. With many Na'vi sea villages, Quaritch used a better-to-kill-than-miss tactic, attacking all suspicious villages to force them to reveal Jake's location. Witnessing his father capture people and burn villages to achieve his goals made Spider uneasy. News of the unprovoked attacks on villages reached Tomawari and Jake, despite the dangerous situation. Tomawari ordered the villagers to keep the presence of Jake's family a secret. So far, Quaritch couldn't extract any information. Furious, he immediately devised an extremely despicable plan. Back to Loak. His bond with Payakan grew closer. Loak expressed his desire to know Payakan's story, wanting to uncover the secret behind why it was called a traitor and killer of its own kind. Payakan finally decided to share its memories by connecting with Loak. It revealed that, long ago, Payakan's mother was captured by humans. To save her, Payakan called its kind and the Na'vi for help. However, the humans' overwhelming power led to a massacre, with all dying tragically. Payakan was the only survivor, escaping at the cost of losing a fin. Payakan was still branded a killer of its own kind. Loak's bond with an outcast Tulkun infuriated and was opposed by Chief Tomawari and his wife. Despite this, Loak refused to end his friendship with Payakan. Meanwhile, Quaritch launched his sinister plan, initiating a Tulkun hunt to lure Jake out. Coincidentally, the targeted Tulkun was the spiritual companion of Tomawari's wife. They shot it with a tracking device to prevent escape and used floaters to slow its swimming. The mother and calf Tulkun dove down. The villains fired ultrasonic bombs, forcing the Tulkun to surface. Then, small crab-shaped submarines were deployed, launching explosive warheads that killed the mother and calf Tulkun. Shockingly, humans hunted and killed these giant creatures just for a small amount of brain-extracted compound that slows human aging. Valued at about $80 million per vial, the rest of the Tulkun was discarded. Normally, after extracting the liquid, the villains would let the carcass sink to the ocean floor to erase evidence. But this time, Quaritch deliberately left the scene intact to lure Jake out. Upon learning her soulmate Tulkun was killed, Ronal was devastated. Enraged, they rallied the villagers to seek revenge against the Sky People. Jake immediately intervened. Knowing Quaritch was baiting him, he urged the people to warn the Tulkun to flee elsewhere. If tracking devices were found, he'd help remove them, as this was wiser than confronting the heavily armed Sky People. Seeing Jake's reasoning, Chief Tomawari agreed to follow his plan, while everyone rushed to sea to contact the Tulkun. Loak, ignoring his brother's objections, went to find Payakan. Unfortunately, his heroic act led the other kids to follow, trying to stop him. Loak quickly found his friend, but it had a tracking device from the hunters. The group climbed onto the Tulkun to help Loak remove it, but they failed, and the hunters' ship was closing in, with no other choice. The kids contacted Jake for help. Jake ordered the kids to help Payakan escape, while he and the tribe rushed to rescue them. Despite being pregnant, Ronal grabbed a weapon, determined to fight for revenge, back with the kids. After removing the tracking device from Payakan, they split up to hide. Unfortunately, the Sky People captured Loak, Tuk, and Soraya, with valuable hostages. Quaritch threatened Jake to board the ship alone to settle the conflict, or the three kids would be killed on the spot. Left with no choice, Jake complied with Quaritch's demands, thinking this would be a tragic end for hero Jake. Payakan suddenly leaped from the water. Using its massive body, it crashed onto the ship's deck, attacking and throwing the enemy into chaos with its steel-like skin. The sea beast rampaged through the Sky People before diving back into the sea to escape. Jake seized the moment, leading the Metkayina villagers in an attack. Quaritch and his men quickly regained composure, organizing a defense. Neytiri, riding an Ikran, swooped down from the sky, shooting down many enemies with her bow. Meanwhile, Jake and the villagers dove underwater to dodge gunfire, waiting for the right moment to strike. Under the sea, Kiri used her spiritual connection to rally marine creatures to attack the soldiers, tilting the battle in favor of the righteous side. On the ship's command center, Spider, seeing his friends in danger, could no longer stand by. He smashed a fire extinguisher into the head of the soldier controlling the ship, then sabotaged it, causing the command vessel to lose direction, crash into a reef, and start flooding as it began to sink. Back to Jake's battle with Quaritch, Jake skillfully used his mount to bring down Quaritch's Ikran, causing him to fall into the sea. Meanwhile, the hunters relentlessly pursued Payakan. Known as a creature 10 times smarter than humans, the Tulkun used its ultra-hard head to deflect a missile. It then cleverly used the enemy's harpoon cable to immobilize their ship. Payakan toyed with the enemy, driving them to despair before delivering the final blow, avenging its kind. At the same time, Nedayam sneaked onto the ship, freeing Loak, Tuk, and Sireya from their handcuffs instead of escaping with family. Loak insisted on returning to save Spider. As Quaritch rode his Ikran back, he captured Kiri, Tuk, and Sireya, escaping. Saw this and turned back to rescue Kiri but were caught and tied up again by Quaritch. Fortunately, Sireya was thrown into the water, inside the ship. Nedayam and Loak freed Spider, but soldiers spotted them and opened fire. Nedayam told his siblings to go ahead while he stayed to hold off the enemy. Then, Nedayam quickly dove into the sea after them to dodge bullets. Just in time. Sireya swam up to help, but the group realized Nedayam had been shot and rushed him to a nearby rock, reunited with his parents. Jake could only say he wanted to go home before taking his final breath, amidst Neytiri's anguished screams. The pain of losing their talented, obedient eldest son, unlike the troublemaking Loak, hadn't fully sunk in when Quaritch contacted them, demanding Jake's life for his 2 daughters. Jake urged Neytiri to regain her composure to save their girls. Neytiri's eyes burned with hatred, determined to exact revenge. Loak wanted to join his father, but Jake was cold toward him, carrying his grief. Jake and Spider quickly approached the ship, guided by the boy. There, Jake freed Tuk, but Kiri was held hostage to threaten him. Neytiri used Spider to counter-threaten Quaritch in a life-for-life exchange. Both sides released the children. Jake and Quaritch began fighting. Jake ultimately choked Quaritch underwater, causing him to suffocate and sink. Meanwhile, escaping. Tuk and Neytiri were swept by a whirlpool into the ship's hull. Kiri and Spider struggled to escape the whirlpool. The ship had sunk to the ocean floor, and Tuk, Neytiri, and Jake, unable to find a way out, were drowning. Fortunately, Kiri used her spiritual powers to control glowing sea creatures, guiding her to her mother and sister, while rescuing others. Spider found a drowning Quaritch. After a moment of hesitation, he saved him as a gesture of gratitude but refused to join him. Back with Loak, he finally found Jake, pulling him to the surface to breathe. Loak urged them to swim to safety, but Jake, knowing he couldn't hold his breath or reach the shore, told his son to leave him behind. Loak, of course, didn't listen. He guided Jake to breathe as Sireya had taught him, and Jake succeeded. The father and son followed the glowing sea creatures to the surface safely. Kiri, with the help of the glowing creatures, found her mother and Tuk, finally. Jake's family was reunited. Jake's view of Loak changed, and he told him, "I see you," after the great battle. Jake and his family sent Nedayam off to the Sea Navi's soul tree. Though heartbroken, Jake accepted the loss of his finest son. To avoid further trouble for the tribe, Jake decided to take his family and leave. However, the Tomawari kept him because they considered Jake and his family as an inseparable member. So from now on, Jake's family had a second home to live in. The scene ends when Jake and Neytiri connect to the soul tree under the sea. As the battle for Pandora's future intensifies, Jake and his family forge unbreakable bonds with the Mechayina and their ocean home, setting the stage for new challenges. With Quaritch's threat still looming and the Navi's resolve stronger than ever. Avatar: The Way of Water leaves us on the edge of our seats, eagerly awaiting the fiery conflicts and deeper mysteries of Avatar: Fire and Ash. Thanks for watching our video. We are Screen Sizzle. Be sure to subscribe and hit the bell to catch our latest uploads. We're grateful for your support on our journey to 1 million subscribers. Let me know which movie you want me to explain the meaning of by commenting below. Until next time, enjoy the movie.